on the computer. All right. Thank you both for showing up live. And for those that are unable to attend live, you'll get to watch this at a later date. So we're recording it and wanted to just start having you all share, where do you find yourself this Wednesday, time of day, wherever you're at? Whoever wants
Tired.
to. Tired. Yeah. You're end of day, right? You've told me 5,000 times where you're at on the map. I need a map to look at when you tell me this.
I'm in Eastern, so I have been working all day and I've got a sick kid here and another kid quarantining from COVID exposure. So I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, way to show up. Thank you. And
Yeah.
you had a lot of deadlines today too. So you're probably all out and you're ready for nothing.
Yes, but I'm here.
Thank you for being here. It means the world, Amy. Thank you. How about you, David?
You're welcome.
Well, I always panic when I am asked for an introduction. So I've been working all day. I work from home. I get sidetracked a lot and squirrels run by all day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's easier to stay focused if I have either meeting reminders or lists. And then after watching some of your videos, I've noticed that if I don't really give a crap about what is on my list, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, there's that. And then avoiding like different work items all day long is another thing that I like to do.
Yeah, so we're going to dig into exactly that.
Until the deadline, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those deadlines, they're so good to us. Stress is that world. Yeah, we'll dig into that. Thank you, David, for showing up. And with this being at the end of the day, I know the brain that shows up at the end of the day. And we're here. We're going to push through. And again, honor you all for making this possible for me to practice, which you'll get to discover. My slides are not complete. They're where I got. So I'm showing up real life too. And I'm going to share here so we can get started with this presentation, which is, let's see here, copy link. Thank you both. And I too struggle when I have to introduce and I don't have much to respond to. My brain kind of goes into spiral mode. Okay, share screen. We're gonna do this. And 3 days understanding your ADHD brain. I keep capitalizing your because this is not about me helping you all see what ADHD is. I am going to do a very, very brief introduction of like how I kind of see ADHD, but I want it to be your brain because it's your brain. We all are super unique and different. And so there's some different components that drive behind there, but it's like, let's get your brain and figure out how it works. So that's why I keep capitalizing your. It shows up weird together. Amy, your design opinion might come into play here because I keep playing around with that. But that's just where we're at. And I call this group 01 because we'll have group 1, but this is your beta test of this. So thank you again. And we're going to go to this world that I want to create, which is interest. And I didn't change that text. Interest-based learning, transforming understanding when it comes to discovering what drives your brain. Like you said, David, that world of like, now I understand what's on my list and I don't really know. So day 1, we're going to look at interest-based, what that means. And then day 2 and day 3 are still being built out. And I didn't summarize there. And the word we're going to land on at the end of this day is simple. So if it gets feeling squirrely, or if I'm still squirrely on this side, know that we're going to come back to that word simple at the end. And so that's that like home base. We're going to hit the ball, run home and land in simple. So with that, day 1, authentic interest, belief, and collecting proof is what we're going to lean into, how those all come together, and really what we're headed into for these 3 days. And so with authentic interest, who am I? We'll start there. Who am I? Y'all have been following for a while, so I feel like you know me more than, all the world. And I really started, I don't like talking about myself either. I was diagnosed last October. And I didn't realize that was what I was accounting for. Really the big driver for me was I got married at 25 and I was terrified of ever having kids because I barely could take care of myself. And so I lived in this way of like accounting for limitations. Like, how can I have it so I actually can cook food? How can I have it so I actually can do the things I want and enjoy my life and enjoy my home? And like, how can I do this? So it was always accounting for these limitations and living in this massive trial and error. With that, I kind of grew up in an entrepreneur style family. I think everyone probably in my family has ADHD and all that. So we've all owned businesses and whatnot. So that was normal. So I was able, thankfully, to have a ton of space to have what looks like ADHD be normal. And then when I got married, my husband had a stable job, which gave me a lot of space, and just like he gives me a lot of space to be squirrely and wily and all the MLMs or all this like trial and error of everything. I've lived that life for a long time. And it wasn't until I discovered the diagnosis of what was behind that, of like, oh, that's what I'm accounting for. That's what I'm trying to solve for. Did I really land on what my purpose is in the world, and has given me where I'm headed now, which is helping the world work for ADHD brains. So with that, ADHD is valid. That's one thing that I find personally struggle for me, and I continue to hit up against. It is valid. It is real. I doubt that it's real. I doubt my diagnosis from time to time. I think I'm making it up. It is a hunter-gatherer brain. ADHD is discovered in tribes in Kenya. So, you know, you hear, oh, it's because of this food or this thing or that world. It's discovered in Kenya. I have a little bit of data here of, this was a Healthline article, that they studied 2 communities in Kenya, one that's still nomadic and one that started to be developed and like going to school. And that there was a genetic variant that led to novelty seeking, greater food and substance cravings, and ADHD symptoms. And that the nomadic community that with ADHD, they were better nourished than those without. And that the communities that were building villages, those that had ADHD were beginning to struggle and have more challenges. And that those that had ADHD were actually looked at in a positive sense, because they were the ones that helped protect them, that did raids against when there's things coming in for livestock, robberies, like they were looked up to. And so it was the hunter-gatherer mindset. And it wasn't until the advent of agriculture that really, when we stopped having to hunter-gather food in that lifestyle, it really became a problem that we see, which is again another thing. ADHD was discovered in 1798, which I find is fascinating because the Industrial Revolution began in 1760, which the Industrial Revolution began schools for us to become robots in a factory. So it really took us out of how we were made as humans to be production, which is, I think we all can hit up against when we go to work and try to do production, and not really giving us space to be ourselves. So that is the validity that I have discovered that I stand in when it comes to ADHD. The other piece too is that there is scientific proof, even though it's hard to understand, and which leads me to this video, which is 3 minutes long, and I hesitate to share it. So you actually can veto me all if you don't want to hear it. And this video has helped me see just some more validity of it. She cycles at the end. That's why I love TikTok, because it's short. She cycles at the end to summarize it. So I'm going to play it for us all here. And then from there, just give us a little validity before we head on. So this is the only science I got. After that, we'll run to some other stuff. So I'll play.
Do you have ADHD? Do you want to know exactly why our focus is all over the place sometimes, and then sometimes you're hyper-focused? I'm going to show you the neuroscience, and at the end, I'll show you how it compares to neurotypical. ADHD is a disorder of improper activation of the prefrontal cortex, which is the main brain area that's linked to ADHD. So in the prefrontal cortex, you have these specialized neurons with dopamine and norepinephrine receptors and these cation channels. Now, these receptors are what gates the ion channels. So this is any kind of signal that you can get from your environment. Now, when these channels are open, the signal escapes and leaves the neuron, but when the channels are closed, the signal strengthens. When norepinephrine binds to its alpha-2A receptor, it actually closes the channel and allows the signal to pass through. Dopamine has the opposite effect. When it binds to its D1 receptor, that opens the channel and a lot of the signal leaks out. So norepinephrine increases the strength of the signal, while dopamine weakens the signal, but it filters out the noise. The D1 receptor has very low sensitivity to dopamine, which means you need a high concentration of dopamine in order to activate it. If you have ADHD and low dopamine, you're not going to be activating the D1 receptors, and the noise isn't going to be filtered out. When you have low norepinephrine, it's not going to close the channel, and then it's going to weaken the signal. When something piques our interest and causes phasic firing of dopamine is going to increase in our brain, bind to the D1 receptor, open the channel, and filter out all noise that is in our immediate interest. And this is what causes our hyper focus, to the point where we can even forget to use the bathroom. So ADHD is all about the balance of dopamine and norepinephrine. If too high, the signal gets scrambled and causes stress and anxiety. If too low, the signal is incoherent and causes hyperactivity, inattentiveness, or both. If you're neurotypical, you have the perfect balance of dopamine and norepinephrine. Norepinephrine channels are closed, giving you a good signal. Some of the dopamine channels are open, some are closed, reducing noise, allowing you to focus on what you need to do. Follow for more.
So it's a lot of science that I'm not a fan of. And it really comes down to that you are valid. Like there really is a reality that we live in, and we lived in a culture that has gaslight and given us negative messages because of the way our brains work. We can't see it, so we have to make it a problem. It's, I mean, so misunderstood that even the title ADHD is dismissive. It's not a deficiency of attention. We have a surplus of attention, and it really even leads to all these negative messages that we receive. There's studies that show those with ADHD by the age of 10 receive 20,000 more negative messages, the most formative years. And it really determines our sense of self and creates us a foundation that we believe are bad, broken, and wrong. And like, this is a subconscious we live in. I'll often say of a YouTube, TikTok that says my subconscious doesn't have ADHD. It doesn't account for the reality that is my brain and just how it works. In addition, like I mentioned, the Industrial Revolution created an education system society that wasn't built for us. I recently discovered fidgeting increases focus by 400%. How many of y'all got in trouble for talking or moving in class? And if you didn't talk or move in class, you most likely had such mental anxiety that you were paralyzed, and you probably didn't maybe have the social component. So there's this world that we didn't fit in. So we became a problem and a disorder. And when school is built to have you conform, not lead, we then fight and have this part where we have to shut ourselves down. We then have to create a system of operating that is not authentic and real to ourselves, because we have to survive. And you are valid who you are today. Like I say, and the cognitive dissonance, the disconnect we have is you are a brilliant badass. For you to get where you're at today with the brain that you have, the environment that we have, we are massive when it comes to resilience and overcoming. And the strength that we have is unbelievable at times when you really get down to it and see what so many people with ADHD, the level of success that doesn't feel like success to us, but it really is when you look at what we're up against in a way. So you are valid. And what I want to do is transform understanding. So I want to change the context, the way we look at the world. Context was this weird word for me until I got defined, is literally like, I'm standing in front of a window. That is my context. How I see the world, what I'm able to see is my context. And I really want to shift it from this, I'm bad, broken, and wrong, transforming that to the world that I make sense, that I have a brain that works the way that it does. I'm not a problem when I'm given an environment that works for me. And I'm not a problem at my core. I think that's also our society. We believe people are bad at their core. We're not bad at our core. And so being able to shift that context makes a massive difference. Transforming understanding when it comes to interest-based learning. In a way, if we're interest-based, TikTok, the algorithm has created a way for us to begin to learn based on our interests. That hasn't been the way it's been. It's, you got to learn what you got to learn. You got to learn what you got to learn, do it more. Learning makes no difference. If it's not interest, it's not going to be there. And so with that, it's this world that we now are beginning to have that, especially with the internet, which just is this global web of all the things. I don't know, I'm sure you're like me, I've gotten lost on like rabbit hole engage. Like if we get interest based, you can't stop us. And so we're beginning to see what's possible in the world of ADHD, because I believe TikTok is finally the way content's getting created that works for us. Real life community. I believe we've been trapped in a glass box. We can see everything, but we can't get out of it, and we don't know how to connect. And so for me, I believe when we get to show up with real life, we get to then discover who we are and start to learn to connect, really see that the glass box can be broken, that it is safe. It just doesn't come easy or naturally, and it takes time. So that real life community can create and begin to help you collect proof of the possibility of safety in this world, which is a whole nother topic, but transforming understanding can lead to that. So with that, authentic interest. This is a quote, I'm going to show a quote next that I landed on, and it's like, I just land on this as the most solid foundational thing that I come to, which is this quote: those with ADHD are always able to do what they are authentically interested in and unable to use importance, reward, or consequences for motivation. Some people will say, oh yeah, I can use consequences. Well, it's usually because that consequence became authentically interested. If I'm afraid of losing my house, I'm authentically interested in keeping my house. But if I'm not really afraid of the late fee, then I'm not authentically interested, and the late fee is not going to stop me from paying the payment on time, that whole world. So again, it's, yes, you might find some loopholes, but it's going to come back to the world of authentic interest and the world of the word always with ADHD for how unpredictable we are is a very, very wild world. So I like to land on that as a foundational bedrock of we can always do what we're authentically interested in. And with that, also, the other word I want to get rid of is motivation. We don't want to motivate ourselves. If we can always do what we're authentically interested in, I don't want to worry about manipulating myself into doing something. I'd rather lean into what I can always do. So motivation is garbage. We're getting rid of motivation and we're going to leverage what is authentic interest. So with that, what is even authentic interest? The definition of authentic that I really liked was this. It says it means that you're true to your own personality, values, beliefs, regardless of the pressure that you're under to act otherwise. You're honest with yourself and with others, and you take responsibility for your mistakes. Sounds nice. I believe, especially for me, authenticity wasn't a thing I could even start to tap into until probably maybe a year ago. And even at that, it's hit or miss. Still not really that strong at it. It's only because I have a community where I say I'm real life that I actually press into this. It's not easy when you have this foundational belief that who you are is wrong. So it kind of undermines your own existence. You undermine your own personality, your values, beliefs. And so what I believe for this is this connection to authenticity. When I first got connected to authenticity, the picture that I had, and it actually was after I did hypnotherapy for a while, which actually served me. I was kind of afraid of it, but it actually did serve me. I got this picture of this turtle. And I was like, for me, it was this world of this shell that I lived in. And I got this picture of taking the shell off. And what I had underneath was like this weak, feeble, like never been exposed to reality, like physicalness. And so for me, I end up going to that picture of like, I'm going to feel like a weak, feeble person when I'm authentic. And that's really the way of gaining strength and standing at my strength and building myself up in a way that's authentic and leveraging that to create the world that I want. And with that, it's a journey. And so it's easy to see this and be like, okay, sounds great, but all these things. And the thing is, it's a journey. And what I like to see is the world of seasons. And so when you kind of step into the world of authenticity, it's a season. It takes time. Really, all of this is a journey. There's no arriving. And when you arrive, I think they put a date on your tombstone. So we don't want to arrive. We just simply want to have the journey and discover what it looks like to build that authenticity in a way that works for you. So then the next word is interest. And interest is an interesting one because when you search interest, you don't get much. You get a bunch of finance things, which wasn't helpful. Really, what I got down to when I got the definition of interest is that it's actually an emotion. It's a state of wanting. And there's a very real world of we can struggle to fight against our wants, or we can want something and don't know how to get it. So there's a very real world with interest that can show up. And it's being able to be authentic with your wants that you get to really connect with what interest actually is there for you. So that is how I kind of see and define authentic interest. And then with that, I see authenticity and interest then creates attention. And so we're always like, give me some focus. I want to be able to focus. I want this world of attention. And we have it. We really do. It's really being able to discover what's authentic, discover what we actually want. That's an authentic want. And then that from there produces interest or attention. So a couple of things. Situational variability is something that comes up here. What that means is that creates different situations that you look different in them. So it can really create a invisible paradox, which a paradox means two things are true at the same time, which can literally make you feel insane. And I think that's many people with ADHD can feel is because I'm awesome here and not awesome here, or I can focus and get this thing done and I fail miserably here. And so because of those two things, we have to just pick one. And because we usually have more proof of the failure side, we usually default to the failing. We also have that subconscious that's got the negative messages. So it's really easy to land there compared to being able to see, oh no, I actually have a situation that does work for me. How do I actually see the situation that does work and be able to see, yes, it's both true, but my identity isn't in either of these. It's just based on the environment. So that is a very real world for ADHD is situational variability. And then another piece in that is our interest-based nervous system, which I didn't delete that text out there. So with that, it's a very, very real scientific, you can research interest-based nervous system that we have compared to importance-based nervous system. Also the world of like self-care or doing the things that would be important for you, they're not going to show up for us. We're only going to do what we're interested in. So again, our whole nervous system, the way we operate at our very foundational level is founded there. And I also like to say you're unable to outwill your nervous system. Like your nervous system is going to drive you. There's no strength, might, or ability that's going to overpower our nervous system or our brain chemistry. So that's that when it comes to interest-based nervous system. So this leads to really what I see is even underneath the world of interest, authentically interested. It's really, what do you believe? It's belief, because if we can always do what we're authentically interested in, the knowing makes really no difference. There's a world that you can know all the things, but if you're not interested, it's not going to do that. I like to think of the example of, I've wanted to create content for my whole entire, like I've tried for forever, so many years, and failed and failed and failed. It wasn't until I actually got connected to what I believed and what I was interested in, did it start to become possible. And even at that, I still have breakdowns, and it's discovering, oh, there's a belief under there. You can't preach at me all the answers. It's not going to go anywhere. I have to understand that. I have to get the context and all that whole world. So belief is really at the foundational core of all of it. So what is belief? An acceptance that a statement is true. And I think we often believe a lot of things that aren't those. We are very, or I at least speak for myself. I'm very, there's a lot of false beliefs that I believe, I should say. So that's the world that I have often found myself in, is this world of false beliefs. And really all we have is our beliefs. And we are actually able to be in control of them, even though it doesn't necessarily sometimes feel like we are, that we truly are. And so with that, there is a world that we live in that's actually already not authentic when it comes to belief. We live in a society where you say, if I do this, then I'll have this, and then I'll be this. If I do this job, I'll have this money, and then I'll be this kind of person, or have this kind of security, and then I'll be safe. And so we live in this world that we are so focused on our actions. And so we just hyper focus on, if I could just do all these things, if I could complete my to-do list, I would finally be the person I want to be. When really at the foundational core, that's an inauthentic and false belief. The true belief is, if I believe that I'm something, I'll take an action in alignment with that, and then I'll have some result that is in alignment with that kind of belief. And so for us, if we're always able to do authentic interest, and it comes down to belief, having these true beliefs really does foundationally shift our whole world. Because if we shift that I'm bad, broken, and wrong to I'm actually whole and complete and perfect, then I can be a whole lot of other things, because you're unable to live past your belief at the end of the day. And so when you have these negative messages in this world, it really creates a way that the extent you can move past is limited based on the limiting beliefs, the false beliefs. So it's coming down to what is actually true. So with that, ADHD and false beliefs. Have you ever seen the volcano before? This is also garbage. I hate the volcano, or I hate this. I do not like this. I've never liked this. I don't know why. People will be like, the iceberg, you only can see the stuff up here, and there's like all this crap down below. No, we actually get a volcano. You will see my false beliefs all over my life. I will have some reaction. I will have some action that I don't like. And actually I get to inspect that and actually get to get connected. I'm not disconnected from it. I have proof all over of what I actually believe. I will not do this because of this. Like, it all makes sense. And I think with our world of our brain, we can really run in some directions. And so I like to think of it as a volcano. And in a way, when you get connected to those things, you can start calming the volcano down. I'm here in Washington. I think David is also. We have active volcanoes where we live. They live dormant at times. And so being able to really shift those realities of when you bring some of that down, you can get some more dormant activity of the volcano. It's always going to be, the potential is always there, but it's being able to shift it from not so active to nice, calm, pretty space. So with that, a thing that I like to live with is how you do anything is how you do everything, which can feel kind of overwhelming. At least for me, I feel a little overwhelmed with like, okay, where do you even begin? However, what I love about this is that even the bananas you buy at the grocery store, with all the hope and belief that you're going to use them, have something to tell you about what you believe and what it looks like to live the life that you do. That is a volcano. That's an action that you have. Not that it's explosive, but I also know sometimes I'm like, no, I'm really going to make the banana bread. I really live thinking that I'm going to do it. And so no matter what action you take, there's going to be something at the root of that when it comes to what you believe and how you go through the world. And lately I have not been buying bananas, but I also know that they help you get dopamine. So sometimes I consider getting them, but I have not still done it. So that's a whole nother story. So this introduces and kind of leads into, if how you do anything is how you do everything, my world of linguistic shifts. I don't know if you found me on TikTok, and if you did, you may have discovered one of my, I'm going to close that now that I'm seeing that link, linguistic shifts I live for. Because I want life to be easy. I really do. Life is not, I often have a lot of resistance, which is the world of ADHD. ADHD is intensity and resistance. And so if it's going to have to be a certain way that's effort, the chances of me depending on it are not so great. Well, if I can make it easy, and for me, language, I can, in a way, kind of play with. It's something for me that's fun, and linguistic shift, especially when you're not shaming yourself for using the wrong word, you really can get to create a world that you start shifting those volcanic things because you're changing the language that you're using. So the words you use create your world and really that experience that you have. So one of the linguistic shifts that I'm currently working on, and I in a way believe is one of the most foundational ones, is have and want. And it's not an easy one. I will tell you, I've been working on it for a while and I still don't have the linguistic shift down. And I don't think it's about getting it down. It's being able to get present to, is it actually true? And am I using it and letting it go when it shows up? Or am I getting locked into the reality that I'm creating? And so have and want is to say I have to do something is inauthentic. I won't have interest. I will most likely create pain, sometimes even physical. Boredom creates physical pain for those with ADHD. It's been tested, it's real. The amount of have to is often the increase of ADHD symptoms, and you're going to have was not meant to be disorder, it meant to be disorder. No, there's another word that I was going to use there, and it wasn't disordered, but it's this whole world of, I guess it'd be disorder, just out of order, compared to alignment, which is on the want side. So that's that world of have to. I have to. That's the pressure we get, does not work for our brains and the biological components. So want to is authentic. There's interest, enjoyment. To the level of enjoyment is the higher the enjoyment, the less the ADHD symptoms. So that's something that we can also bank on. Dopamine comes from the things of wanting, that desire. And it also is an authentic desire. So it's alignment. And so that unalignment, or whatever, I guess the other word of not aligned is that disordered word I had on the have side. So that is one that I actually am introducing here at the beginning, because it really creates a world that's different. Because at the end of the day, we're looking to, I believe all of us, is to grow, expand, and live into what we truly believe about ourselves. And this is a graph that is the hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you've heard of it before. And if I say I have to do something, the only things I have to do as a human are food, water, shelter, and rest is on there too. I think those of us with ADHD don't believe that's a have to, but we do have to rest. We have to sleep. We can't keep going. And so those are things I have to do. If I don't do those things, I will no longer be humaning. I will cease to be a human. There are people who are not safe and still live as a human to do that. So making sure basic needs are met and really being able to go to that next space to where you're at, have to, we do need safety. If we want to create relationships, friends, those kind of things, and really start serving our psychological needs, then creating a world where I don't have to do the dishes. That's an authentic thing. I don't have to. And so you actually can create an authentic world where you can say, okay, I don't want to do the dishes. That's still a want. It's at least authentic. And you're able to see that that's what you don't want to do. And from there, an authentic place, you can get grounded and begin to discover what does it look like to actually do the dishes, which is actually what I'm going to help y'all with. Well, maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna help you with the dishes, but I maybe will help shift some things here when it comes to doing the dishes. So changing the context. We're not gonna solve any of this today. That's why I want to keep this simple. This is starting a journey, like I said, and a journey. The first season is winter, which is dark. You don't have the most results. You don't really get the most feedback, all that kind of stuff. I'm giving you a seed, and we want to give up figuring it out or getting it right and simply just begin to understand what it looks like to grow in the strength to begin again. Just really, what does it look like to begin again? Really tapping into interest-based learning, trusting your interest, and being able to leverage that and use that as life. And then real life, showing up with real life. This is how you discover yourself. What is most true and good will be revealed because we are whole and complete at our core. That's going to show up regardless. That's who we are. And so when we're looking to that's what we're looking to expose and help you believe. So we really want to help prove, in a way, collect proof that who you are, your core is good, and really work against those false beliefs. So with that, what we're going to lead with, we're not going to solve this today, like I said, but we're going to start opening this little bit to say, okay, what do you believe, or what do I believe? What or who do I want to be? And then collect proof. So this is that what we're kind of introducing into. And I'll be sharing some resources that go along with this, but this for today, just that introductory piece, is that piece. Do I have one more slide? Nope, I don't. So what does it mean to do these 3 things? So what do you believe? We want to know, and if you've seen the kind of Notion page, it was this world of putting together and starting to document or discovery place. So you wanted to start discovering, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself, both good and bad? What do you believe you want to do? What do you believe at any core of it? It's authentic. It could be crap. Like, it could be that you believe something that you're not happy with. That is perfect. Like, being able to start collecting the beliefs that you truly have and seeing, is it a shift that's there, or is it authentic and true? So being able to collect belief. And then, who do you want to be? I, in my world, use I want to be a brilliant badass. That's what I'm out to collect proof for. That might not be your word. Brilliant badass might not light you up. If it does, you're welcome to use it and collect proof with me. But who do you want to be? I like to think of this, creating a world that is who you're living into, this way of being that you want to be. Another person that I have, they're like, they want to be like Jack Bauer. So it's like, okay, that's like their picture of like, when I'm doing these things, it's this picture of who I want to be. I'm doing it because that's who I want to be. And then collecting proof. So an example of this is, I think I've shared in the group, my water that lives by my back door. Could never drink my water when I first woke up because of this whole world. My dog creates chaos. I hop out of the bed. I'm never going to remember to drink water when I get out of the bed. So I've now moved it to the back door, and that's a way of collecting proof that I am a brilliant badass, that I'm considering how my brain works. I'm using and leveraging my own brain and collecting proof in a way that I am a brilliant badass. I thought about it before I went to bed. I have the water by the back door, and collecting proof that that's truly who I am at my core, compared to that false belief that I am a failure, which is what I personally lived into. So again, I believed that I was a failure. And so that's what I believed. Was it true? It wasn't true. That I truly, who I want to be, again, for me, brilliant badass is what I live into and love. It's not going to fit for everyone. Who I want to be is that. And then I'm going to work on collecting proof that's more true than the world that I'm a failure. Because I'm not a failure. I just haven't discovered what works for me yet. And so it's this world of, what am I authentic? How do I be authentic with this? And be able to say, I'm not going to drink water, or I'm not going to do this. And being able to then open the door to start seeing how to be authentically interested. So with that, that is what I've got for day 1 of how to really step into this world of authentic interest, that it is simple, that it is basic, that it is something we can depend on. It's wild to think that there's actually an always when it comes to ADHD, because it's not an experience that I've ever had. And it is something that I would want to leverage with all of us here in the group. How do we leverage and discover what we're authentically interested in? So with that, I have a couple actions that are not defined here. So I'll be defining that and sharing it here in the group just to have that afterwards. With that being said, I'll end that and then ask y'all if you have anything you want to say or share after listening. And I think I did mute you through the way, David, if you do want to hop on at all, or Amy, I don't know if you're still here.
I'm here.
Yay. Thank you all. I'm like sweating and anxious over here.
I was muted. I didn't realize that.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
And you have a lot of really compelling information in your presentation. And you've given me a lot to think about.
Okay, cool. That's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it's an age difference or what, but you use a lot of words that I have to go look up all the time. Like
Helpful.
Content. I still don't know what content means when you use the term. I think of content like, I don't know. I don't even know what I think of it. I've looked it up several times and I still don't quite know what that means when you say you want to create content.
Yes, I love that you asked this question. I too, in the world of words, if I don't get it, I totally get that world. So how I see that is anytime I put my words out onto the internet, that is content. It's really
Oh.
anything I create that I share with the world is the definition that I see as content. It can look like a lot of different things, but I do agree it's not a very realistic definition that makes sense. And I totally get the world of not making sense of content because it's trapped me up for a long time too.
So when you say words, you're talking whether it's vocal or written or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or okay.
Yeah, creating a TikTok video or creating a post in my Facebook group. Anytime I'm sharing my heart in a way that is meant to serve someone. I'm sure there's people just Facebook posts that aren't content. It's more of that it's intended to serve someone.
And then about 5 slides back, well, so this is how it goes for me. That chick, the video that you showed us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So she was talking about levels of dopamine and epinephrine, and epinephrine is it epinephrine?
Yeah.
Is a byproduct of dopamine. And so I'm then trying to figure out, okay, so if like what are synthetic versions of dopamine, how are those going to help or hinder? And then really what is like, so I got to find out what dopamine really is. And so I was like, mind massaging that word for most of the rest of your show.
Perfect.
So how is that perfect? I missed the
Because now
rest of
yours
what
was
you were
perfect.
talking about.
You make sense.
I totally missed it. I didn't completely miss everything else that you said, but I was really stuck on like that part of it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I end up in a lot of, you talk about these being able to be free. I get into a classroom and I from the very first word that a person presents in a classroom, I might just go off on that word and study that word for 3 hours in my brain. And I don't know, like, why do I do that? I don't get it.
One question that shows up there, what has like a note taking ever look like for you?
I don't take notes. I can't. I can't read my writing, and I refuse to go back and read it because it's so atrocious.
Yeah, you discovered that doesn't work. What shows up there is our working memory. And so if you're getting authentically interested in something and that's where your attention goes, that's where your attention is going to go. And so, we don't have a way to store stuff very well. If we're not interested, stories, another thing, which I'm still learning to even press into. There's a whole world that I struggle to be with story. And with that, it's, would it serve you to say, like, before you started a thing, to say, okay, this is what to like dig deep in after this. So then you're kind of setting the bucket of like, I get to go study this after this time of like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like you're collecting some of your like little nuggets, I guess, is an idea of, okay, now I'm hooked on this. How can I write down my hooks in a way? Compared to all the notes, because I get lost.
Right.
In my
You
notes
use the word story in a way that I've never heard anybody use it. I don't know what that means.
Like if I use story to tell us, like when people present and tell stories, it sticks in our bodies and brains better. And I just don't have I don't have a good experience with being one with story. I'm very like information based. That's what shows up as safe for me.
So what you're saying is that you don't tell stories well, or you don't remember them, or you don't, or what?
In the world of presenting, I don't believe that I'm very great at story. And so to serve our brains, I would like to grow in the ability to tell stories.
In the word of, bear with me here, because I still don't know what the hell you're saying. You're like missing some adjectives or something.
You're solid. So when you tell a presentation and someone's like a really good speaker, they're going to tell a bunch of stories that you get like wrapped up in and you really pay attention to, and your body remembers it. It's how our brain develops.
Yes. Okay.
I am not gifted in that. So I end up going with like facts, which doesn't always serve our brains. So I'm looking to grow.
Yes, now I get it. Oh, see, and that's probably why I didn't understand it, because I can't tell stories.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible well, I don't tell stories well.
Yeah, I hear that.
So how am I supposed to say that?
I don't know. Do you hear
No,
anything?
the way you just said it.
Oh. Do you know what we said, Amy? I'm lost.
I was also lost.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to like twist it back around, but
No, you're good.
You said I don't something in story. I don't story. I don't
tell stories well. I don't.
No.
My
See, there
memory's
you're
the
using all
same
the
crap.
adjectives. There you're using all the adjectives. I don't tell stories well. But when you said whatever you mentioned, we can go back and watch the video.
There we go.
You'll see what I'm saying. Anyway,
Yeah.
so okay. So when I am, see, that's the problem, is I don't know what I want. I've never known what I want. I just go with, I guess, where's the most money to be made, or what's the most fun, what feels good, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm able to adapt and bend and twist and turn and do all of the things that I need to do to survive. And,
yeah, we can still rock it. Like, it's not impacting our,
oh yeah.
like, I mean, it impacts, we still can do a really good job. We still can show up. And that's why it's like, we get upset at ourselves because of the masking, but there's still a thriving in it in a weird, twisted way. It's just not authentic. So there's a cost to our well-being, a cost to who we are at our core, that as we shift, we can go into that. So with that, does that leave you with anything? I know you're later in the day, Amy, so I can if there's anything else you have. I don't want to keep you long if you want to go be with your family.
I have to actually go and feed them now.
Okay, yes, please. Thank you for being here.
But I'll catch up with you later,
Okay.
and I'll think about it and give you some more feedback.
I would love that. And then I'll work on some very simple, basic things to be considering for wrapping this up also.
Okay.
So thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
You're the best. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Amy.
I appreciate her showing up and her family wanting to be fed and sick kids and all that. But yes, I would say though, you're not the only one that lives in that world. So you being authentic with what's showing up is a gift, because it lets me also see like what serves people. Because in the world of that video, I was like, do I share it? I don't know. Does it serve people? There's a whole world there. And so maybe that's a video that I put in the Facebook group for people to watch before the presentation. That could be something that would serve that could be something we play around with. So I get to kind of feedback and create with that, of like what actually serves. Because so much I would say that this world we're created in is like how it's supposed to go or how it should be. And we just have this world that's created based on what you think you're supposed to do. And so getting to hear these feedback of like, oh, this, like I get to, kind of create inside of that, which is a big service to me. So thank you.
Right. Well, I was very interested in what you said about TikTok, and I don't remember what you said about it now. I just know what it was.
Interest-based learning.
Yeah. So like I can go out and listen to 5, whatever you want to call them, vignettes or, about a certain topic. And I understand it. I know it. And it's because of these short little bits of information that's how I work. That's how my brain, I could sit and watch TikTok all day and be focused and remember every one of them. Exactly.
And in the world of interest, the videos have to be interesting or they don't keep getting views. And so there's a drivenness between the people creating content creators, to be interesting. And that's such a world of why I believe we're finally getting diagnosed and having a world that we're understanding, because you are able to meet that. And then it's just learning how to show up in the longer script form of what I'm now. I'm like, I'm good at 1 minute. Like you put me longer than a minute, I'm in discovery of how to do that well.
Amen. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I got. And then in that world of feeling not connected to what you want, that is something that I'll be leveraging or having some ideas to share here in the group. There's a values exercise I want to play around with, and it's more just discovering what's realistic for people to complete. So I'll play around with that. And there's just.
Are you saying you have like some exercises or something that we can do tomorrow?
Yep.
In the 3 days. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep. There'll be an
That's what
exercise
I'm interested in.
Perfect. There will be an exercise. And I'll most likely record it as a single unit. So then it's super short and people can look at it and so they don't have to watch the whole thing and they can see the exercise without watching if they by chance don't have the time or space, which I get that. So
Right.
there's that. Also too, when you
Okay.
mentioned it was norepinephrine, which is a stress hormone. And I also think when you said that earlier, so when you dig into it, and I think that's a reason why too, when we're high stress, our brains work, and why we often will create a stress hormone and then all of a sudden be able to do something before a deadline because we got to stress. So then all of a sudden my brain works. So I think that's circling back on what you were saying earlier.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, so I just need to create deadlines.
You just need some more stress, right? Don't we all
I
need a
do.
little
I
more
just need more
stress?
stress.
Or interest, stress or interest. You could also go in the interest bucket.
That'd probably be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be better. So
Probably safer and less
yes.
less stressful. Okay.
Yes. So
I
you're
get it.
valid
All
in
right.
not knowing what you want. That's a very, very real world with ADHD. So
All
yeah.
this from watching a TikTok video. See,
Oh,
I
yeah.
literally I saw one of your TikTok videos, and I'm like, wait, I got to find out who that person is. I gotta see what the heck she's doing because
Oh.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what
Okay.
I'm doing either. So thanks for showing up in the middle of it and where I'm at. We're just dancing with it. So thank you.
I don't have a clue. All right. Thank you.
Yes, we'll be in touch. I'll share more in the group. Thanks
Okay.
for showing up. Take care.
Okay.
Kisses.
Bye-bye.
Bye.